Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. I might as well start with a very serious topic, which is near and dear.
How do you feel about this, that this is what you're going to be known for? Honest to God, how do you feel about it? I mean, it's now gotten to, LeBron, and shout out to, well, I'll let you set it up. It's your podcast. You set it up, but go ahead.
Well, LeBron reacted to it and JJ Redick reacted to it. So this started years ago. I think it was Tony Romo. I was at the other place, ESPN. And Tony Romo was doing something at the podium. And it's always been about the weekly Wednesday podium when you're a franchise quarterback. I don't care if you're any other position. I don't care about offseason. I care about the quarterback, face of the franchise, on a Wednesday podium looking like, you're the face of the franchise because you are the coach on the field and the highest paid player usually. And so I said something about it. And Steve Spurrier was the college coach at South Carolina. And in his weekly media session, he literally said, in his southern voice, I was listening to a radio host, Colin Cowherd, say something the other day, and I really agreed with him. And, he went on about it. He said, I kind of liked it, and I kind of agreed with it. And so I thought, see, I'm not that crazy. That's not a bad idea. So, and I did it a couple more times. Now it's gotten a life of its own. And I think most people now, well, I shouldn't say that. I think a big chunk of people sort of get I'm being theatrical and my outrage is somewhat manufactured.
But it comes from a real opinion. It is you have the further along it's gone, the more I don't want to say ridiculous, but it's become a thing, which I'm totally here for. But we've talked about this once before, and I'm going to reiterate the point and actually tie it back to today's thing, which is, even if people vehemently disagree with you on the specifics of backwards hat for forwards hat, everyone, if they're being honest, should be able to admit we all have a backwards hat thing that makes us judge people. Like so it can be as simple as, oh, that person who I thought was like a big time, power broker. Oh, he doesn't match his belt to his shoes. Like, oh, he's not as sophisticated as I thought. Or again, I'm just making that up. So here's what I found so funny about today. I don't really give a shit that JJ Redick was wearing a backwards hat at all. You know what happened today though? That gave me another piece of evidence that said I would not hire JJ Redick right now to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, that he responded to the clip. That, to me, was far more damning than his hat. It's like, buddy, you can't. 3 days ago, I saw you on the internet arguing with a San Francisco radio producer. Now you're watching clips of Cowherd talking about you, LOLing it. Like, I don't think you're going to go from that level of internet engagement, maybe even searching your own name, all that stuff that people do, by the way, and I'm not judging them for it, but I don't think it'd be healthy to do as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and I don't think you turn it off in a week. So I don't care about the hat. I care that he reacted to the clip. Like, I really do. And by the way, I wouldn't care at all if it was like a broadcaster, like just in his current job, react to whatever you want. But a different job we're talking about now, which, again, I don't think you would care about the backwards hat if it's just he's the NBA announcer. But if it's like, oh, you're going to be the head coach of my team. So I get it. I actually get it.
Well, I mean, if you don't think appearance matters, your daughter's on the emergency table in a hospital, and a surgeon came in a suit, and they put his white or blue robe over it, or a backwards hat. What would you prefer? Or your pilot on a plane came in, or he had his hat backwards. Which would you prefer at a turbulent night?
And I also think, LeBron responded with 2 pictures. And I wasn't sure who the first guy was, because the second guy's Jason Kidd. And it's like, oh, he's done a great job. And it's like, yeah, but Jason Kidd also, and JJ has this going for him as well. Like, former athlete. Former athlete turned coach is a little different, which is where I think JJ probably has more of a, margin for error here. But the other guy was like, who is that? And then we figured it out. It's the guy who owns the Jazz. Well, at some point, you succeed out of now all of a sudden you never have to wear a suit. Like, I don't know if you watched the show Billions, but I know it's fictional, but the main character, Bobby Axelrod, who was the billionaire, he'd go to work.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Everyone's wearing a suit. He's wearing a Metallica t-shirt because it's like, I own the place. I kind of can. Like, yes, there is that element to it, but I love it. I think it is it is so funny that 4 times a year, I'm like, oh, well, half of Colin's show is taken care of for no reason. And because there's always new people in the ecosystem, there are people who this is their first experience with you and Backwards Hat.
That's right.
And so they don't get any of, again, that not that it's a joke, but that this has been a 20-year thing. And those people replying are the best. They're like, this guy, it is the best. And you don't have to explain the joke. Just let them go. It's the best.
Yeah, it's, as you know, I love football. I try never to take myself seriously. I think I laugh at myself all the time, but I do take my job seriously. But it is something now that's, it's got a life of its own. It didn't bother me that JJ Redick responded because JJ wasn't outraged by it. He was laughing at it. And Steve Kerr, before he became big, was a hilariously funny, whip smart analyst. And, a couple years later or a year later, he transitions from being kind of funny with Mike Breen to being a GM, the most serious job in the world. So I think JJ's a really bright guy, and it doesn't bother me that people respond. But I do like, I think if JJ walked up to me in a story, he'd be like, and I'd say the same thing. I'd be like, oh, I think you're really bright. I really like your work. And I think he'd probably laugh too. And this, to me, I think about this all the time, is that my bones or I think a little bit in like breaking an occasional story, although I know what I am now. I'm a generalist. But I do think whether it's Nick Wright, Stephen A. Smith, me, McAfee, whoever it is, Tony and Mike, Wilbaugh and Kornheiser, whoever it is, shows should be a bit whimsical and fun. It is sports. Like I don't watch, outside of right near the election, a lot of political coverage because I think it's so exhausting and heavy and kind of mean-spirited. So I think I always think it's okay. Like your show, you do, I wouldn't call them gabs, but you do, not gags, but we
do a lot of ridiculous things on the front end and back end of what I consider smart analysis. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like today, we had you thankful, by the way. Thank you for doing it. Wild was out sick. So like the introduction, we do Nick's tiers, which is, some people call them power rankings. We do different things. Ours is a little different flavor to it, but we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's ordering teams. Yeah. But on the front end of it, we have this whole giant introduction about how big of a deal it is, and Wilds couldn't do it. So we had you, the face of the network, come in just to do the intro and out, and then it's real analysis, and then it's back to ridiculousness. I do think it's important in sports somebody else said this, by the way. This is not my thought, but they were smart. I wish I could give them credit. It is important to take sports seriously, but not yourself seriously. Like, you got to give the audience, you can't act like the games don't matter because the people who are watching really care. I care. Like the games, but you can't take yourself. Like, one thing that I appreciate about the way you do it is you have no loyalty to a previous opinion. You're like, I got new information. I changed my mind. And people will get mad. They'll be like, but you can't. It's like, well, I just did. Screw you. What are you going to do about it? And so, like, I'm not going to act like what I said previously is gospel if I get new information on a thing. And so, I think some people have trouble, you know what I mean? Either taking it like it is life and death, or just making a joke out of the
Right.
whole thing, kind of trying to straddle that line.